I will. We will go on with that. My show is actually about all the crap you guys been sending me. So I want to go through all of these.
And the stuff I sent to
Who said that?
me.
That was Dee Dee.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through all my emails, the stuff that you guys have been, the links you've been sending me and stuff, and we're gonna just see what's what. We're gonna
How
consider
about
what.
how about me, Rick?
Who was that?
Was that Amy?
No, it's Teresa.
It's Little
Which
T.
is
Little
little
T.
T.
Hey,
Little T.
she's working. Yeah, actually, Little T. I think you had an encounter I wanted you to tell in here, didn't you?
Well, I sent something to you, that's for sure. It happened a long time ago, though.
Yeah, I've read several, so I don't remember exactly what it is, but I remember saying I got to get her to talk about that. So why don't you go ahead and first of all, before anything happened, did you believe in Bigfoot?
At the time, had no clue it even existed, or never even, never ever heard the word Bigfoot.
Yeah. And then, so what happened? Why don't you go ahead and tell us what happened?
Well, I grew up in the boonies, and just like I told you, and so there was other kids that we kind of got together and every Friday, Saturday night, and there was usually, oh, I don't know, probably half a dozen of us, maybe eight, and some of us would bring a like a cousin, or if we had a date, we'd bring the date. But Friday and Saturdays we were all together, and we would get in the car and just freaking take off. And it was nothing but woods and back roads and nothing but dirt tracks. And I think I told you the story about one time we had this one old cemetery that was way back off the road. And some of the gravestones were like in the 1700s. And we go back there and sit and just gab and go on with each other and stuff. And we had this one dude that was just scared to death. And he was always looking for ghosts and stuff. And we used to really get on him. And one night, the guys went and took a piece of rope and tied him to a headstone, and we all left him. And we went back later, about 10, 15 minutes later, and got him. And he was so freaked out that we had to take him home. But that was typical for a weekend. And we used to go to these places, and it'd be woods and just woods and woods, and nobody around. And we'd play hide and seek. And we were about 16 years old. And I'm 64 now, so it was many years ago. And we went one night to this place, and it was just a dirt track, and it was an old woods, and it opened up into this valley, and it was just cliffs all around. And it was about midnight, and we went and parked at the bottom of this cliff, and we got out and we were all sitting around, and we're just shooting the bull with each other. And sometimes, somebody'd be going through a bad time or something, but anyway, we hadn't been there maybe 15, 20 minutes. And all of a sudden, this god awful scream just, I mean, our chests just vibrated, and it was just the most frightening thing you ever heard. And it was right on top of us. And we sat at the bottom of the cliff, and it was probably about 50 feet or so to the top. And we just, I mean, all of us was just, hollering, and us two girls. it was only me and another girl in the group. And we started screaming, and this thing was just screaming and screaming, and you couldn't move. You couldn't, your legs wouldn't hold you up. And you looked up, and there is this huge thing. And there were no clouds that night, and the moon was just bright. And oh my God, it was just humongous. And it was so broad in the chest. And it looked down on us, and it was like, I'm going to get your ass. And so, you know, a couple of guys grabbed us girls and threw us in the car, and the guys loaded up, and we took off. We were absolutely terrified. One of the guys, he said, if we hadn't left, he said, he said, it would have jumped down right in the middle of us. He said, he said, you could just see it. Its hands were just big fists, and it was just, yeah, I mean, it was the most threatening and the most god-awful thing I've ever gone through in my life. And I still go in the woods. Well, I don't anymore. I'm not capable of it, but I've always, my whole life, I've been in the woods. And
Hey, Teresa, where did this happen at, and what day?
it was on a weekend night, and so it had to have been a Friday or Saturday night. It was around midnight, and it was in Indiana. I was, you know, I still live in Indiana. I'm born and raised. And so
What year?
it had to have been around 71, 70, yeah, about 71.
Teresa, what time of the year did this take place? Was it the summer months?
Yeah, I'd say it was summer, maybe going towards fall. But it, you know, now if you go back there now, it's a road now, and there's actually a RV park there. And but I do know that there has been sightings, you know, through the years around that area.
Do they have any problems with that RV park now?
I don't know. I have not heard anything. You know, it's not something that would really be talked about. And so it's, you have to get online to hear anything.
Teresa, what kind of facial features? Did you see any facial features?
Just big and broad, and the eyes would just kill you. You know, the eyes, they were just like a yellow gold color.
Now, were they glowing, or were you able to actually see the color of the eyes because of the moonlight?
They were probably glowing, and just, you know, God, it's been so long, but I've never been so frightened in my life. And maybe it's because I was so young, but I've been scared through my life at things. And I've never, I even now getting on YouTube and reading stories and encounters and everything, sometimes I get off because it's just, it just gets to me too bad.
Now, the glowing of the eyes, could that have been just eye shine from the moon's reflection, or was the moon behind it? Do you know?
It was probably just, you know, from the moon eye shine, I would imagine. You know, in the time that it happened, you're just frozen in place. And you're out in the middle of freaking nowhere. I mean, nowhere.
Teresa, did it look human or did it look monkey-like?
Oh no, it had the long arms, and it was big. It was really really big. It was definitely male.
So that was early 70s. That's been some time ago. And then what part of the state, what part of Indiana in relation to Indianapolis? North, south, east, west?
It's actually a little bit south, but west. Definitely west.
Yeah, I've heard of a lot of encounters happening in that area.
Yeah, you hear a lot about Monroe County down around, definitely down around Monroe County. You hear a lot.
Yeah, Rick, I'm starting
Hey,
to feel that,
Crypto.
Indiana's kind of dynamic.
Yeah, anything south of Muncie, that's where you start to hear a lot of encounters, and then south of Indianapolis, it grows order of magnitude.
Most definitely, and I think that the farther south you get, you're so right across the rivers, Kentucky, and then that's just a whole new thing.
Now, Teresa, you said that it had its fists balled up. I mean, was it taking on like a bodybuilder's, muscle pose, like it was trying to put on a display of I'm really going to kick your ass?
Oh yeah, it was definitely pissed. And I mean, we talked about, we went straight back to the house, and the whole time, me and the other girl, we had crawled up in one of the guys' lap and was just crying our eyes out. We were so scared. And all the way back, all the guys just kept, what in the hell was that? They'd never seen anything like that before.
How long were you there before this thing showed up?
Not very long, 15, 20 minutes at the most.
And when you said you jumped in the car, was the car like right there where y'all were sitting or whatever?
Yeah, it was probably only about 20 feet, 25 feet away from us.
How far was that maybe from my Bono's encounter in Indiana?
It had to be at least 60 miles, like south of where his encounters were. But that's not a lot for a Bigfoot.
No, it's not. But yeah, not too far, but a little bit of ways away. But were y'all making a lot of noise?
Oh, I'm sure we were. I mean, you get a bunch of kids together laughing and teasing and joking and stuff, and I'm sure we were.
Yeah, it sounds like you pissed that thing off.
I think it was a little too. It was a little too angry for what was going on. I'm kind of suspecting that they wandered into its area, like where its family was. That's what it sounds like, because it just sounds way too overly angry and intense about them being there.
Go ahead, Teresa.
I really thought that it was going to jump down and get right in the middle of us and start tearing us up. I mean, it was just holy terror, and like I said, a couple of the guys grabbed us girls and threw us in the car, and everybody was in that car and going down the road, but there for just, probably, oh gosh, at least a minute or more, we just stood there frozen. Nobody could just freaking believe it.
Now, you told me that you were at the bottom of a cliff. Was it a sheer cliff, or, I mean, could somebody climb up it without gear, or what?
It was probably about 50 or 60 feet. And probably if somebody knew what they were doing, they could climb up it. But it, for just an average person, no, I don't think so.
Okay, well, it's well known that Bigfoot like to take the high ground. I have a feeling that those Bigfoot, he probably had his family at the top of that cliff, and he heard you all. Maybe you were keeping them away. Well, they probably stay up at night, but you were disturbing them because you were down there making all kinds of noise. And it didn't like that you were near his family. That's what I would guess. What's at the top of that cliff, do you know?
Actually, it starts going into real deep woods.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, Rick, I instantly had the same feeling that you just laid out. That was my synopsis of it as well. Probably an alpha male looking after a family unit. What do you think?
Or it could be one of those, what is it that Standing called them, watchers or guardians or something like that? Basically a scout.
Yeah, the sentinels that keep an eye on the family unit.
Yeah, it could have been one of them too, yeah.
Yeah, when maybe possibly the rest of the group is resting.
It took probably a half an hour to get back to the house, going through back roads and dirt tracks and everything. And but as the crow flies, it wasn't that far. And probably, oh gosh, I don't know, down the road a little bit in time, it was that same it was within probably a month or two, and we were at the house, and they had acreage. The horses, we used to go horseback riding the whole night. I mean, hell, we were kids, in the boonies. And but anyway, we'd play hide and seek a lot. And just, we went everywhere. We went back in the woods, down in the pastures where the horses were, everything. And one night we ended up in the loft of the barn. And all of a sudden, the horses, the pigs, there was cows in the barn. They all just went freaking nuts. And we just were up there just shut up, and we never did figure out what it was. But the next day, there was a pig gone, and they found one of the pig gone. And so never did figure that out.
Well, you just did. It was a Bigfoot. Bigfoot come and took it.
Hungry.
Yeah, very. But when you think back on it now, I can remember walking in the woods and hearing twigs snap, and you can hear footsteps, and I can even remember hearing wood knocks, and not think nothing of it, and just keep on walking. And then then there's times I can remember being in the woods, and it's like something is watching me, something is following me. And whenever I got that feeling, I got the hell out. And so I really do believe that we have a good community of them here in Indiana.
Yeah, it sounds like you have some there close to, or at least back then you did anyway, have some close to you. When you were driving out, was there any sense from either you or the guys that were with you that the thing was like pacing you out or showing itself or anything like that?
There was so much chaos. The guys were just, they were talking over themselves, and me and the other girl were back there in the back seat, and we're like dug down under, and the guys, were crying. I'm crying, she's crying, and it's like total chaos in the car. And you can feel the car, a couple of times fishtailing, trying to get out. And I don't think anybody had the sense to look back to see if it was behind us or anything. they anybody could think about. And I can remember hearing, you know, go, 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 get out of here, get out of here. And I think we were so, you know, the guys were so concentrated on getting out that they never even thought of anything else.
Have you ever talked to any of those people about that about that encounter since then?
Well, when we went straight back to the house, and we talked about it, and we didn't go back out in the woods for probably a good month or more. And we never ever went back there. And but after that, we never talked about it again, even among ourselves. It was just something we didn't talk about.
And when you did talk about it when you first got back, what did everybody else, what was the consensus about what it was that happened, what it was that was there?
Well, the guys, you know, we would talk about how big it was. And the guys, they just, no way, no freaking way. And then it was like, yeah, it was. And it was going to hurt us. The consensus was it was definitely going to hurt us if we didn't get out of there. And it was just, we all really did believe it was going to jump down and right there in the middle of us.
So you all came to the conclusion that it was a Bigfoot.
Well, like I said, we didn't know what Bigfoot was back then. We just knew that whatever the hell it was big.
Teresa.
Go ahead.
Y'all seen a Squatch.
And you know, I've never told anybody. I've never told anybody in my family. I've never told anybody because nobody would believe me. And they, you know, they would just, you know, say, "Oh, you're nuts." You know, they don't believe in such things like that.
Guess what? We do.
I got to tell you, Teresa,
we
that's a great sighting that you had. I know in the moment it was frightening, but be thankful.
I'm very thankful we got out of there, and we all got out of there in one piece, because I know if we had stayed around, or, you know, one of the guys, he carried, and, you know, we were kids from the country, the boonies. We weren't from the country, we were from the boonies. And so he, you know, he had a pistol on him, and that wasn't unusual. The guys hunted, you know, and stuff. So they, you know, it was. But when we were out and we go out and everything, you know, he carried a pistol on him. And I'll sometimes think about, what if he had pulled that and shot at it? Then we would have all been dead.
How tall do you think it was, Teresa?
Well, it's been a long time. I bet it had to have been, I'd say, between 8 and 9 feet at least.
Thanks for sharing that story. That's another good one here on Hypotheses Discord, I think. Thanks for sharing that. It sounds credible to me.
No doubt.
Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. I tell you, when you think back on it, like I said, I do get on here and I do read a lot of stuff and about encounters and everything, and I listen to people, and it's like, you know, sometimes people just do not want to believe it, unless they're face to face with it. They just don't have that concept. And if you don't
gives
have
a whole new meaning to the things that go bump in the night, doesn't it, Teresa?
well, you know, it makes you definitely have an open mind and realize that everybody, you know, everybody thinks that we are at the top of the totem pole. Well, No, we're not. I don't believe that at all. And you're only, I do believe that there's things out there that can really put a hurt on us, and you got to watch your back.
So, Teresa, at what point, when did you actually think back and realize that was a Bigfoot?
Well, I don't know if I can actually say all of a sudden I thought, damn, that was a Bigfoot, you know? And then I remember, like when they had the film, you started that on the on TV and it showed the film, um,
Patterson Gimlin. Yeah.
yes, the Patty film. I that really hit me in the face then, and it made me really that was the first. It was the first thing that popped in my head was that night.
It jarred your memory.
Yeah, it it really did, and it really left a big impression. A big, I mean, doesn't it? I mean, anybody that's had an encounter, doesn't it give you the biggest damn impression that in your life?
I know for me, it's definitely affected. I mean, even to this day, my encounter was in '78, and even to this day, if I pass a window at night where you can't see what's on the other side, it's a flashback. It's like a Vietnam PTSD flashback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I most definitely, and I do believe in bumping the night, and there's things.
I think you took your finger off your button, Teresa.
Oh, there's definitely things out there that go bump in the night, and there's definitely things out there that will um, put a big hurt on you. And if you're lucky, you're not conscious of it, you don't realize it, and you go through life, and that's great. But on the other hand, I'm glad that I saw it because in a way, it opened up my mind to things and stuff that I would have never had believed otherwise.